My name's Iman. Welcome to Rational BC, where we discuss building and investing in tech.
Hi, my name's Cyrus, and all I do is talk like this. I hate the establishment. I hate this person.
Got a nice haircut there. It's looking like the 15-year-old Iman. You got rid of the knots. No more.
No more.
Sweet boy lover hipster flex.
Basically, I'd gone too far in the tech world. Too much hipster looks and too much time in Shoreditch. But that's over now. We're going back to the city with big boy pants on now.
So in the next week, I'm getting a haircut. I'm getting vaccinated. Because I'm getting vaccinated, I'm going to be back in the gym deadlifting. And this is the worst shape I've been in my entire life because the last 13 months, gym's closed, zero activity. I'm not a soy boy. I don't like running. We like to lift. And as Dr. Cameron Separ, our friend, Harvard psychologist, founder, investor, professor, says, these soylenials in Silicon Valley need to start lifting more. And I genuinely don't understand. This last 13 months, I haven't lifted. I don't know how most guys do it. Because I think, what's the number? I think 10%, 5% of guys lift regularly, consistently, if that. If I was in charge of a country, it would be if you don't lift.
North Korea.
Yeah, if you don't lift, because genuinely, it substantially improves mental health. It boosts testosterone. It boosts output. Just everything improves in life. I don't know why more guys don't lift. I don't know how guys don't lift. I don't know how they go about their lives. These soylenials in Silicon Valley.
You get a different high. Basically, some people like to run, some people like to play football. That's a different high. It's still fun, but it's a different high to what you get from lifting. It's actually quite funny. You know how all of these tech guys started posting topless photos after Chamath posted his one? Yeah. Honestly, I don't think they've lifted a day in their life.
They haven't.
And then Dr. Cam posted one, and he's all hench. And he got a bad reception.
Yeah, because they hate.
Fuck.
Because they hate. Anyway, last 1 year has been awful. Can't wait to be back. Unleash the Persian warrior king within. By the way, this new format. Last time we did one of these streams, we said it's a new format. It's the most views we've ever had on a video. We're going to start uploading the audio as pods. The videos you can view on YouTube. Hopefully we had huge reception, great feedback. So here we go, round 2. Let's get into it. First thing I want to discuss, once again, our good friend Asim Qureshi. We're going to throw a screenshot of this on. Doordash is the US food delivery app with roughly 56% of the US food delivery market and roughly 60% of convenient delivery. But does its $49 billion valuation make sense? Okay, no. DoorDash IPO'd in December 2020 at $102 per share. It hit nearly $190 on its first day, over $250 in Feb, now trades at $152. It saw revenues more than triple in 2020 due to the pandemic, yet it still made an annual loss of $461 million, not much lower than its 2019 loss. But that is far from its biggest problem. Now we're getting into the juicy stuff. DoorDash is in a space plagued by competition, fighting for a finite pie. The end of the pandemic will likely significantly negatively impact revenues. Every player in the industry is struggling to make a profit, as we discussed last time. Deliveroo over here in the UK and Uber Eats just about anywhere. And there is a real potential for the industry to be disrupted by robots delivering food and convenience. Hint, hint, Bezos. It's kind of hard to see how, with its current business model, DoorDash can make in the order of roughly $2 billion of profit, but to support a $49 billion valuation, it needs at least that. The Facebook Google trade at roughly 30x earnings. A physical business should trade a lot lower. Basically, the more physical a business, the less scalable it is. Listen, the entire food delivery space is going to have a WeWork moment when everyone wakes up and smells the coffee. And it'll happen as the pandemic ends and revenue figures start collapsing.
The reason why Asim's posts are really good is because he spits facts. Basically, he tells the truth as it is.
He's like us. He's like us.
But he says it in such a way which is like, hear the facts and fuck you. And that's why it's so good.
Starting to sound like a broken record, pretty much the exact same, his thoughts mirroring what we discussed about Deliveroo, which is the UK equivalent. In our last episode, we discussed that. Other people would disagree with him because they say, oh, but you're betting on the future growth of these businesses. Dude, growth has a limit. Like, Uber has been around for like a decade now. It's still loss-making, heavily loss-making.
Look, people aren't stupid. Investment bankers might be, but people aren't stupid generally, right? And like we said in the previous episode, a lot of retail investor money is going into the market. Okay, discount a lot of that as being stupid money just for the sake of it, just for sake of argument, right? Which I don't think is the case. You say a lot of people are putting money in and the share price is reflective of a valuation that's unrealistic. The thing with these companies is that I don't think people know what the long-term company vision, what the long-term company outcome is, even for Uber that's been around for 10 years. So this is why people keep saying stuff like, we're betting on the future growth. I think they're literally betting on what the future looks like without knowing what the future looks like. So it's fundamentally just
speculation.
It's a reflection of speculation in the market. Look, it is what it is. You can't overanalyze these things. There's a level of human psychology involved, but at the same time, I think that people are willing to put their money into something that's loss-making on the off chance that it's going to the moon.
I mean, Munger and Buffett talk about, well, apart from circle of competence and many other things, they talk about a business should have a moat, as I covered in a video, durable, an intrinsic competitive advantage. What moat do these guys provide? They're delivering food. Where's the moat? I don't understand. If you're AWS, you have a moat.
Yeah.
If you're Coca-Cola, you have brand moat, but I don't see the moat here. So people would say, but what about growth investing? I wouldn't even consider this growth investing. Someone like Terry Smith, the GOAT, the English Warren Buffett that we always talk about, who runs Fundsmith in the UK. He is a growth investor. He has a fantastic book on growth investing. He would never touch these stocks. He would never consider these growth stocks. If you look at all of his portfolio, every single company is profitable.
On a long-term basis, he wins, but on the short-term basis, people will make the argument that he loses because he's missing out on the outsized returns. But then again,
because people want Lambos and Ferraris and they want to get laid, and evolutionary psychology, which we always discuss, because they don't want to work on themselves and compound over many decades. Anyway, what's the next one we want to discuss?
Doordash needs to take a leaf out of Apple's book. Why? Because in February, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, told shareholders Apple has bought 100 companies in the past 6 years. That works out to them buying a company every 3 to 4 weeks. Now, aside from the fact that there's a shit ton of M&A going on, why is that really interesting? Is because these guys purchase small technical companies with very few employees that are technically focused. Now, you'd expect a company at the size of Apple, with the amount of cash it has in the bank, to be able to go out and buy whoever it wants with a full suite of people. But because the software and hardware company realizes the value in technical talent and IP, it doesn't need to go and do that. They've gone on, this spree and picked up companies across the board, not just iPhone relevant companies, right? They've picked up augmented reality, virtual reality, AI, maps, health tech companies, and of course the sort of moat companies around semiconductors that the contest between China and the US is picking up around. So that, for me, is a model of success. What does it mean? It means that a lot of people that are going and working in M&A, or a lot of people that are going and working in, consulting, legal, whatever it is, are becoming less relevant, both in terms of the acquisition potential for large companies like Apple, but also for the ability to work for a company like Apple. They're less inclined to want to hire you. They're looking for people from a technical background. And we've said this over and over again. Go and work for a startup. Go and learn to code. There's no point in you being involved in M&A because fucking one of the largest companies on earth doesn't
M&A is
get
over.
Involved in it. It's done. It's like if Apple doesn't need it, I'm telling you in 20 years time, no one's going to need it.
A guy I know who was part of a startup, background in finance, went to work in the startup world of a venture-backed startup, and he was director of finance, something like that. I think they were actually in the AI field. They got acquired by Apple, and he joined them in the M&A team. And after a few months, he left and he went to become director of finance at another one. because people like him do it for the love of, let's keep building companies. And he probably joined Apple and is like, I'm assuming, I haven't asked him this, I'm assuming he thought, well, M&A here is boring because it's not the traditional chucking it into a DCF or doing a model or being in an Excel, because as you said, it's solely based on hiring the technical. Apple are ahead of the game in the sense that they know the value is in the technical. They're playing the long-term game, and this is why I'm learning to code. This is why I always tell people to learn the technical side. Even if you're not going to code, just have technical awareness. Because I actually remember 14 months ago, me and you were sitting at the table over here. We had a whiteboard out as we usually do, and we were chatting. And you said to me, which we both agreed on, you said, in 20 to 30 years from now, the best VCs in the game are going to be those that have strong technical understanding and or have been operators. And as the O'Reilly article says, we're going to link this in the show notes, is this the end of Silicon Valley as we know it? It's talking about all of these doofuses, a lot of them, who are doofuses who have made money easily in the past decade. They're not going to have this floating and making money in the next 2 decades, because it's going to be more about your technical awareness, more difficult, challenging problems, life sciences, climate change within tech. So yeah, Apple's ahead of the game. They know that engineers are the foundational roots of all innovation development in this space. In life, you can take the hard way, or you can take the really hard way. The hard way is, let's go into a deep STEM and learn this engineering stuff, head down for a decade, or as Malcolm Gladwell says, the 10,000 hour rule and being an outlier, blah, blah, blah. You can take this hard way, which, yeah, it's difficult, but it's work. And that's the beauty and joy of life, of putting in the work. When you look back, you'll be proud of it. Or you can take the really hard way, which is yes, you're going to get much, much more pay in the short term. As Mr. Ravikant says, seek wealth, not money or status. These people are literally seeking money and status in the short to medium term. But in 10 years from now, what happens? Well, we know that most startups fail, over 90%. The ones that have an exit, firstly, you've been an employee, you've been diluted so heavily you barely get anything. And even if you do, what are you going to do 10 years from now? You're going to go and be biz dev at another company. Yeah. Because as Cal Newport says, you have not developed rare and valuable skills, as he outlines in the book, So Good They Can't Ignore You. How to have a fulfilling career. He debunks passion and purpose and all this nonsense. It's all about developing career capital, rare and valuable skills.
10 years ago, even 5 years ago, if we were to have this conversation, the hard and the harder way, in the hard way, your ability to make money would have been delayed, right? You could have made more money in investment banking or whatever it was pretty quickly, right? Nowadays, you don't get that. In fact, the place where you actually make money, even in the short term, to get to the place that you want to, is in tech, is in doing those technical roles. People are waking up to this. So don't think you're missing out on money either.
Uncle Charlie says, Charlie Munger, he says, I am in the game of deferred gratification. And I think we should get that on a t-shirt, rationalvc.com in the chest. And in the middle, it just says, I'm in the game of deferred gratification.
That's easy to say when you're 97 years old.
True.
But yeah, I agree with him. The next thing I want to talk about is how hiring is changing, because I think it's quite timely.
Balaji, yes, those who don't know, he is undergrad, master's and PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford and a master's in chemical engineering from Stanford. So this is a guy that has undergrad, 2 masters and a PhD, all in the most technical STEM fields, all from Stanford. So he is not biased.
He's not biased at all. He's the CTO of Coinbase. And he's
ex-CTO,
Ex-CTO, sorry. And general partner in Andreessen Horowitz. Balaji S. said on Twitter, and we'll pull this up, many founders aren't hiring from Harvard. They're hiring from Twitter. This is a shift I've seen in many companies, especially in crypto. The way applicants are proving their skills and character is via their track record of possibly pseudonyms, contributions, and interactions. The degree isn't the first point of call anymore. New ways to source. Basically, what he's saying is that the traditional route to entry into the most lucrative ways and of making money and the lucrative career paths is no longer traditionalized. It's now moving away from what we've seen for the last 200-300 years, and it's moving into a completely decentralized method. And the reason that's really interesting is because there is no more need for a degree to show an individual, to prove to an hiring individual that you are worth something, that you have career capital, that you have educational capital. The thing that now can show them that is the amount of work you put online, your proof of work, as Balaji S likes to say.
I was just about to say that. Yep. This is literally what our brand stands for: meritocracy, rationality, proof of work. Out with the BS and the whole nonsense of you have to have connections and go to Harvard, Stanford, MIT and do the work at FANG and all this nonsense bullshit. And I'm very glad this comes from Balaji S, because he is as technical and wise as it gets in this field. He has the Ivy League credentials to back it up, and he's still saying it's BS. We have, again, through our community, Minority in Tech, we have kids reaching out to us for career advice, connections, intros, and they say, yeah, I want to go and do this PhD here or this master's here. And I say, but what have you pushed? What's on your GitHub, or where's your website? Where's your portfolio? And boomers will hire based on credentials, but boomers are on the way out. And the people you want to be working for, your Balajis and Navals and so on and so forth, they're as rational as it gets. They base it on proof of work. They're like, show me the work. Can you do the work or not? So for anyone that is questioning your next move, if you're listening to this, just go and build shit. Go and put it out. There's 17-year-olds now sending me apps and projects and websites they're building with commentary over it, and then they're putting that on YouTube and on Reddit. Beautiful.
They're learning distribution in the process as well. You're learning how to sell yourself, which is quite important. Yeah. There's another tweet that Balaji S did that I'll pull up about, and I think he retweets Max Rosa. Max Rosa is the guy who runs Our World in Data from Oxford, from the University of Oxford. Pretty cool guy. He's been doing a lot of vaccine numbers that have been doing the rounds on Twitter. But he posted a funny tweet saying, until last week, Bayes' theorem was just an obscure maths theorem. Now it's the definition of AI, and the regulators are out to get it. Balaji S then quote tweeted it and said, woke America is abolishing accelerated math. Not to be outdone, Europe seeks to regulate AI by regulating logic itself. What seems to be coming out of the mouths of these technical people that understand maths is important, and that, you know, AI being regulated can be dangerous, particularly in Europe, is that the ways in which you or us are able to access this type of information, are able to be technical, is reducing. It's becoming regulated. Right now is the time to strike while the iron is hot. Get moving now, otherwise we don't know what the market looks like in 5 years' time. Gary Tan actually then retweeted everything, and I really like this tweet. He says, math is now a powerful weapon that must be controlled by the state. Knowledge of math will be limited, use of math will be licensed. Math is power, and the statists don't want you to have it. Forget the political side of things. I'm not interested in that. But what's quite interesting is that what that highlights is that right now is the opportune time for you to get involved in this space and stay away from things that are ultra regulated like financial services, because the market right now and the development of you as an individual, the gold rush, if you will, is in tech, and you need to get there right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, goes back to what we said earlier. It is in tech, but not anything within tech. It's the rare and valuable skills within tech. And a tweet will throw up as well off the back of what you said, also in line with that, on the topic of machine learning and math, is by Francois Chollet. I think I've pronounced that correctly.
You pronounced it wrong.
Within 10 to 20 years, nearly every branch of science will be, for all intents and purposes, a branch of computer science. Computational physics, computational chemistry, computational biology, computational medicine, even computational archaeology. Realistic simulations, big data analysis, and ML everywhere. And of course, ML data, computer science being a branch of math, more so ML and data and statistics, as you outlined as well. If you want to know difficult problems to work on, rare and valuable skills to develop, here you are, here's the answer. And if you want the easy way out, go and learn some bullshit like, I don't know, how to drop ship online, or how to flip products, or how to make people click more ads and optimize ads, or market.
FX, bro, FX. Get
FX.
into FX. All right, last thing. Let's pick up on SPACs. We talked about this in multiple episodes. We've done a long deep dive during Christmas 2020 where we talked about this stuff. You can go and check it out on our YouTube channel, or listen to it on all our podcast channels. So Michael Jackson, venture capitalist based in Europe, American guy, great guy, posts amazing stuff. He's basically my source for news now for venture, which is saying something. Also, that speaks widely and very powerfully to the power of democratization through social. But putting all of that aside, he said the SPACs will become the natural interlocutors of technology companies. The Euronext coming out as being for something is often a good sign that something has peaked. See attached chart. I'll pull up the chart. Basically, it shows the number of new SPAC IPOs per month from July 2020 to April 21 that's now closed. You see a stupid sharp rise post December 2020. So the first 3 months of this year, you have 292 SPACs, which is ridiculous. And then in April 21, you have 10 SPACs. That is 9% of the previous month. If you wanted a chart that would show you in beautiful data detail what a ridiculous market looks like, what a bubble is, this is the chart for you.
We saw in the Berkshire annual meeting last week, Warren Buffett and Munger, they shared their thoughts on SPACs, which I totally agree with. Why? Because we called this back in our SPACsmas special, the December episode we did. Me and you literally broke down all the pros, all the cons. People should go listen to it. And the cons that we outlined, it's pretty much materialized, because it seems like a bandwagon for people to jump on to get rich quick, for the sponsor to cut fees. And inevitably, I'll read Warren's quote. He says, If you put a gun to my head and said you have to buy a business in 2 years, because as a SPAC sponsor, once you raise money, you have 2 years to acquire a company with the blank check entity. And he says, if you put a gun to my head, said you have to buy a business in 2 years, I would buy one, but it wouldn't be much of a business. If you're running process for somebody else and you have only upside with lots of fees and no downside, you're going to buy something, of course, referring to skin in the game. Frankly, we are not competitive with SPACs. It's where the money is now. Wall Street goes where the money is. Stick a famous name on it and you can almost sell anything, but it won't last forever. It's essentially gambling. So that's my thoughts. He's pretty much summed it up. We called that anyway back in December. We'll see ebbs and flows, cyclicality. We'll see people coming in and out. I mean, Chamath, Bill Ackman, a few other big names kind of, you can say, played a role in reviving SPACs. Could this be the period where the performance dips? Who knows? We've seen some of Chamath's SPACs not perform very well. I am a supporter of the things that Chamath does and the message that he preaches, but is he doing well? I don't know. It's too soon to say. The same way I like to have a long-termist view on everything, on a Munger flex, as they say. I'd like to give Chamath a chance too. Give him a few decades. Let's see how he performs. Let me pull up this one final tweet, which you should put up. It's by Sahil. And he says, your imposter syndrome will fade when you realize how average your heroes are. Your excuses will fade too. And this is off the back of JMJ, Jeff Morris Jr. Last year, he made a tweet about when you meet your idols, you'll be really disappointed. For me, really, a few years ago, I started meeting a few big shots and I was disappointed and I'm unimpressed. So now I just speak to people that impress me, and the people that impress me we've had on the podcast. There's not really many left, maybe a few. And I'd rather just me and you shoot the shit, have a chat, rather than just sit there interviewing someone, because if it's not someone I'm interested in, it gets boring. Awesome. So YouTube, Apple, Spotify, if you want to listen and you don't want to look at our faces, rationalvc.com. We have over 1,000 subscribers now to our monthly essay, the monthly memo, Rational Letter. Subscribe if you want some. You can read some free ones and then make your mind up if you don't want to subscribe. We have a bunch of founders, VC, seasoned people in the Valley, in London, in the tech scene who subscribe, and they seem to give us good feedback. So we appreciate it. And let us know your feedback. We're going to be doing more of these streams because it's what people loved the most last time. Yeah.
Peace.